Welcome everyone to How to Amplify Your Outreach event. My name is Erica and I'm presenting this information on behalf of the National Engineering Month Ontario Steering Committee and the partner organizations Professional Engineers Ontario or PEO, OACET or the Ontario Association of Certified Engineering Technicians and Technologists, the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers or OSPE, and EWB Canada, Engineers Without Borders. So today we're going to talk about amplifying, and really what do we mean by amplifying your outreach event. We're going to talk about doing that in two ways, through traditional media channels and new media channels. So when we say amplify, really what we're trying to do is, just as the technical origin of the word implies, we're trying to take a signal and make it stronger or bigger. And the type of message that we're looking to send when we do any National Engineering Month event is all about shifting public perceptions of engineering and technology. We're telling stories and sharing our experiences. We want to provide a record of the campaign and its results, and we're going to talk about how that happens when you use some of these amplification tools. And also, since we're doing this whole engineering outreach thing anyway, we might as well make sure that the maximum number of people see it, so we can increase our attendance, have a higher profile for the campaign, and create momentum for future campaigns. As you might know, this campaign has been going on since the 1990s, and here in 2018 we are looking to really build on the momentum that we've created in previous years and make it even bigger and better. So this is a huge part of how our success has come to date. So around that, if you look at how many people you could reach without amplification, and then how many people you can reach with amplification, certainly you're getting that message into more people's hearts and minds and making it more worth your while to make it happen. So in olden times, just to take a bit of a historical perspective, people within earshot got the benefit of your message, and you sort of had to recreate things every single time. So this person here, the town crier, would go into, some sort of public space and yell out the day's news, literally use their own voice to let everybody know what was going on. And you could add a journalist or a reporter to that. So it took two people, one person telling the story, the other one recording it, in order to create a record for what was happening. So that was sort of the old way of happening. And as you well know, if you've been online recently or in the last even 10 to 15 years, the way that we do that journalism has been disrupted completely, because we all have these little pocket computers in our walking around on our person all the time, and they are allowing us to participate as journalists. We tell stories and reach others through our smartphones and through social media tools, and that allows us to take the sort of the middleman out and allow more people to benefit from your event. So it's a very empowering and exciting time to be a part of this media amplification picture. So when do we do it? We encourage you to do it pre-event, during your event, and post-event. There are lots of ways that you can do that. So for example, before the event, you want to connect and promote, and thinking about who your audiences are that you'd like to see show up to your event or be aware of your event. You want to really strategically seek them out and make sure that they're seeing your messages. During the event, you want to celebrate the people who are there. You can engage with them, ask them questions, ask them to be part of the reporting of the event as well, if they themselves have smartphones and are on social media. And we'll talk about how to do that. Anything that you hear that's interesting that people say, that feedback that you're getting, or an answer to a question that's especially unexpected or funny, you can share that as a way to extend the audience of your particular event beyond just the folks that are inside the four walls. And post-event, of course, you want to follow up. If you get any kind of earned media coverage, we'll talk about that as well. You want to follow up and share, or you can do your own write-up. That works as well. So before your event, thinking about who is going to be interested in coming to your event. Is it high school students? Is it elementary school students? Is it young professionals? You will have decided already who your audience is, so you want to make sure that you are letting them know who they are and giving them all the information they need. What is it that they're going to get out of it? What are the components? What are the times? Who is invited? This one says open to the public, so right away you know who it's open to. There's sort of the who, what, when, where. that you can cover there to make sure that people have all the information they need to decide to come to your event and to enjoy it. We encourage you as well to talk about National Engineering Month, because it is the campaign that makes all of this, all of the outreach that we're doing possible. So you can say across Canada, hundreds of events are engaging people and letting them know how engineering and technology are shaping our world. And here in Sudbury, or here in Waterloo, or here in wherever you happen to be, you can let them know what the sort of local opportunity is. Connecting it to something bigger often makes it more exciting and interesting. And we definitely enjoy the name check and the recognition from promoting the brand of National Engineering Month as well. So thinking about where your target demographic goes, I mentioned earlier, school-aged kids. In that case, you want to make sure that the parents who are going to drive them to the event and register them for it are the ones that are aware. So where might they be? School bulletin boards, community centers maybe, where parents of hockey players or lacrosse players might be hanging out. Where do they shop? What are they doing? And plan to reach them accordingly. So those are just a few examples. You could do this online, or you could do this in person. Also, we encourage you to talk to people that you know. This is a great way to get people to feel as though they're really invited, that you want them there. If you send them a personalized invite, say, I think you might really enjoy this, and we encourage you to come out. That's, in my experience, that is one of the most effective ways to get people to actually come. If you send a mass email saying, hey, everybody, everyone should come, doesn't have quite the same impact. So it's often worth it to personalize those connections. If you want to make a phone call or send a text message or send an email, whatever your preferred method of communication is with your immediate network, that personalized ask goes a long way. And work smart, not hard. That's always a good rule, and making sure that you're using the time and energy that you have to do marketing in the most strategic way possible. Target the advertising to parents. We were mentioning that already. Where they might be, that's where you want to meet them and let them know that they're welcome at your event. So the big picture, as we mentioned, we're bringing to life some sort of abstract concepts. Not a lot of people understand what engineering is, or what engineers do, or what technologists do. It's not maybe as obvious a job title as something like a police person or a firefighter. They understand what those are. A doctor, they understand what those jobs are because they see them all the time in the public eye. Engineering and technology are a little more subtle, so we want to bring them to life and demonstrate just how fun and inspiring and interesting these careers can be. So again, back to the way we want our audience to feel when we put ourselves in their shoes and really try and think about what we're trying to create for them. Interested, energized. We want them to feel challenged, but confident and proud of themselves. And that will keep them coming back for more, especially when you're dealing with kids who are just so influential or so influenceable. And if they get intimidated and they have a bad experience and they feel like, oh, that's too hard, that's not for me, that can stick with them for a lifetime, But if we give them an empowering experience where they're successful at doing something, or they say, aha, I get it, I can see that, that's what you want to create for them. You don't want to pitch stuff that's way over their heads, that's going to result in them walking away feeling sort of stunned and bad about themselves. You want to make sure that you're creating something that's going to leave them feeling good and, like we said, interested, energized, certainly challenge them, but also help them to feel confident. So word of mouth excitement often works best. Invite parents and kids that have come before. Ask them to invite the people along. If you have a mailing list from last year, gold star for you. You were thinking ahead, so you can reach out to those folks. And if you haven't already done so, it's never too late to start collecting that information for next year. And you can partner with other groups as well, who have a similar target audience that you do. So traditional media, there aren't as many as there used to be, but there are still some newspapers operating in our communities across Ontario. Some of them have free local listings, so you can add yours, event listings, to say, hey, here's what's going on. You can contact their editorial teams. We do have a press release available on our website, which we will show you where that is. And invite a reporter. Hey, these are the professionals. They can come out and they can tell a story. Sometimes they'll bring a camera crew and you'll end up on the news. And we think that's a huge bonus. It might not be, something that we set out to achieve at the beginning or something that we intuitively understand is important. But going back to our goal, we want to shift public perception and we want to inspire people and make them aware of engineering and technology careers. What better way to do it than to tap into the media channels that are already there? So if you can get, someone from the newspaper or someone radio or TV, again, sky's the limit. You might as well reach out nationally, regionally, locally, ask for an interview. Why not? Invite them to your event. Having local dignitaries or personalities is often really helpful as well, as a good way to sort of pump up the interest in your event, give it a little bit of an extra high profile, and then they may be able to command some media attention as well. So as far as media resources, there is a section of your scorecard that you will be filling out, which is basically a self-evaluation. It's an Excel spreadsheet that we have you fill out every year, or any year rather, that you're participating as a National Engineering Month representative. We have 5 best practices, let's say, for media. We recommend that you designate a media coordinator. So that is a person who's not in charge of anything else on the day except for coordinating, making sure that people are taking pictures themselves, rather, maybe posting some stuff on social media, gathering quotes, interviewing people, understanding that their role is just about organizing and creating media, or maybe meeting reporters. If you've got reporters coming, that's the media coordinator's job to do that. Promoting through social media, that may have been a nice to have a few years ago. More and more we see with the power of Facebook and Twitter and how many people are on there. It's just such a great way to reach people and to tell the story of your events. So really encourage you to use those tools. Having a designated photographer, again, it depends on the size of your team, how many volunteers you have. Or if you have someone with a nice camera, that's always a bonus if you can get some high quality, high resolution photographs of the action unfolding at your event. We'd encourage you to have a designated photographer. Inviting the local media, as we've said, whoever that might be. If you're a student and you're holding this on campus, there might be a school paper or some sort of student journalism team, as well as the other broader journalist outlets in your community. Encourage you to invite any and all of those people, because the more channels you get onto, the better. And again, inviting local dignitaries or personalities. So your media coordinators should be in charge of these things, sort of overall accountable, even though they can delegate the individual pieces to other people. And that will score 2 points each for every one of those that you implement. So there is going to be another webinar all about how to fill out your scorecard. So we encourage you to check that out. We're not going to get into too much more detail here, except to say that media is important and it is something we are asking you to evaluate yourself on. So that's how that part works. I already mentioned a press release, so here's the link for the press release. No need for you to waste your time doing one up yourself. You can use the one that we've created for the campaign, send that out, and that is a language, sort of the bat signal for all of your local media to understand what they need to do when you send them that press release. And that's available as a PDF on our website, so you can check that out. Quick thing on the legality of photos. This can be a tricky thing, especially if you're dealing with younger participants. You want to get photo release forms for anyone who's going to be photographed. If you're going to use their photos on your website, or if you're going to post them as part of a recap, if you're putting things on social media, it's not a well-tested section of the law, and there are actually privacy exclusions for social media. However, you don't want to put someone in a position where they are, afraid for the safety of their child, or they're objecting to having photographs of their child published when they didn't give you permission. Obviously, this applies mostly to underage participants, but it is good practice on the way in. Just have some photo release forms ready and let everyone know that you'd like them to sign them, and then that way you're covered in the event, that you get some good photos and you want to use them and share them. You have also your own event page. Again, this is how we help evaluate your we help you promote your own event page mostly ahead of time. If you look at NEM Ontario/events, we've actually got quite a jazzy little plugin where you'll see all of the information about the different events. And there are a huge number of them going on this year in 2018 across Ontario. And they are sort of grouped by date. And they show up also on a map. So you can zoom in on your section of the province and look at what's going on there. And from there, you can access the details, the contact information, the date, the venue, anything that you might need to know about the different pages. So if you haven't checked out your own event page, I encourage you to do that. If there are any changes you'd like to see, just let us know. So here's what that plugin looks like. This is showing 2017 data, but it's very similar for 2018 as well. And you can click on any one of these and get the scoop on what the event is all about and who's organizing it. And there's a handy little map so people know exactly where to go. So during the event, take pictures, videos, why not? You want to think about the key messages that your event presented. Use your amplification, so your tweets or your Facebook posts or your photos or your Instagram posts to amplify and repeat and reinforce those themes. It might seem to you very repetitive, but to the outside world, trust me, they don't know what your event is about unless you tell them and remind them and tell them again. So if you've got maybe a little quote or a little meme or a little photograph that goes along with, say, a live photo, that's incredibly effective. And if you've seen this done well by other events, you'll know what I'm talking about. Key things the participants said or did or liked. Maybe they told you something, or maybe you saw something on the participant surveys afterwards. We encourage you to share all of that and find a way. It can be through a traditional media outlet. Maybe a journalist comes and they write a story, or you share it yourself, or do both. Again, there really is no exact right or wrong answer here. It's all about amplifying, boosting that signal, and making sure that people understand what went on at your event. So we'd like us to we'd like you to send us your photos, your pictures, your videos, your event write-ups. Post them yourself as well. Send us links to any coverage you found. We do, once March gets rolling, we look pretty thoroughly on the Google, and we look on the internet to see what all we can find about National Engineering Month, and we repost those to our blog so that everybody can see them again. But if you find some that we missed, we're more than happy to update the posts that we're doing. Definitely give yourself high fives. It really feels good to be recognized, and getting written up in the media it's an accomplishment. It's a very cool thing. I know myself as an engineer, it's not my first impulse to care about who gets credit or to try to be in the spotlight all the time. I think a lot of us care a lot more about doing good work and having a positive impact and, protecting safety and making the right decisions. But at the end of the day, there really is something to be said for getting attention. And so this is an opportunity for us to flex those muscles as well. And be sure and thank the person who helped get you that coverage. Maybe it was a reporter or a journalist. And once you've got that connection, it's that much more likely that they're going to show up for you next year if you end up doing the same event or a different event for future National Engineering Month or anything else that you might be doing with your chapter or your organization. Never a bad thing to have friends in the media. So here's an example of something we think was done exceptionally well. This was a Windsor area event. I believe it was a team effort amongst several different organizations working in the Windsor area. And this one was from 2015. CBC News, not a bad get there. That's our national public broadcaster. And you can see the nice smiling faces of the kids. You can see they're having a good time. And they take flight at the University of Windsor. Great stuff there. Get students thinking outside the box. So you can also do your own tweets and Facebook, and you can tweet at the media outlets, even if they're not able to send someone to your event themselves. The hashtag, if you only remember one thing out of this entire webinar, please remember hashtag NEM 2018. You can use that on any of the social media channels. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So I encourage you to look us up and connect with us, like us, follow us, whatever the case might be, because we will have some stuff that we can connect with you on, and we can certainly amplify. Anytime you use that hashtag, we will notice it and we will reshare it ourselves. So in brief, I know social media is such a hot topic and there's really lots to say about it. There are people who make their living being social media consultants, but here's what we've learned and what we've experienced ourselves as being some effective approaches. You want to post regularly. If you can do it a few times a week, that's great. If you can't, it's much better to post once a week consistently for, over the course of a few months, rather than publishing, say, 15 times in one day and then not again at all for several months. So try and get into a rhythm. Share the experiences in getting ready. If, we love it when we get photos and videos of people opening their merchandise boxes. It sounds silly, but it's really cool for us to see. We put so much time and effort into packaging up all of those t-shirts and posters and swag to give out to all of our organizers, and then to see them being opened and to see them actually being put to use at the other end is really exciting for us. So you're sort of building up the hype there and sharing the experience of getting ready. Start conversations, share and retweet. Other people appreciate that, and then you can retweet their content as long as it's relevant and appropriate. And again, that hashtag, we're going to keep repeating that hashtag. The theme is there's a place for you, so you can use a place for you as well. And we'll give some examples of some other hashtags you can use. So you do want your profile to be complete. You want to make sure that you've got your photos and your information well filled in. We do encourage you to use something called a concept cloud to establish a theme. So if you're having trouble deciding, well, is this relevant? Is this not relevant? Sometimes it can be a little tricky to know that. So a concept cloud is one technique that we've developed to sort of help answer that question and help keep you on target for what you want to be sharing on your NEM related accounts. Again, I mentioned consistency. You build momentum. Does not hurt to do a countdown or do it's coming, only 1 month to go. Our event is, going to be on this certain date. Again, it might seem repetitive to you, but there really is so much noise out there that it's worth it for you to continue to post. And again, we have to say this. We know that we have really been proud of the way that our NEM organizers have conducted themselves online. I don't think we've ever had, knock on wood, any incidences of us being embarrassed or needing to kind of backtrack on anyone's behalf. You're representing the engineering and engineering technology professions. We have a high standard of ethics and professionalism, so obviously any abuse or sort of questionable content is not tolerated. That's not what we want to see. That's not what we're here to do, to get in a fight with anyone or to make anyone feel bad. And if you're not sure whether it's relevant or not, maybe err on the side of don't post it, because we do want to make sure that image of our profession and the ethics that we all hold in wanting to do a good job is reflected in everything we do, and that includes online. So what do I talk about? If we know we don't want to talk about anything inappropriate, what do I talk about? Your concept cloud will tell you that. Some ideas that we have for the NEM concept cloud, again, they're based on the messaging guidelines that you might be familiar with if you've organized before. So the idea that engineering and technology are about creativity. It's not just about science and observing what is in the world, but it's about the things we can make from that and the ways that we can change the world. Sustainability, very hot topic right now. How are we preserving our resources and using them wisely for the future? Just future in general. What are the trends that we can see? Autonomous vehicles and new types of energy, and what is the world going to look like in 30 years or 50 years, or even 5 to 10 years? That's an interesting conversation too. Society and development, like how we're all relating and how we're sharing resources and how this world looks to all of us. Diversity is a really interesting one as well, and that's got a lot of facets to it in terms of knowing that when I come to work as an engineer, I'm working with lots of different people from different parts of the world that have different backgrounds and different qualifications than I do. They have different skills than I do, and just how important that is and how much more successful we can be as a team when we put everyone's heads together and everyone's ideas on how to solve a certain problem. Water, again, that one's pretty self-explanatory. It's the stuff that keeps us alive, and it's a very very important resource. And a lot of engineering and technology are tied up in making sure that water is safe and secure for everybody. Safety is a big one. I know I've worked in manufacturing and I've worked in mining, and there really isn't an industry where safety is not important, but I would say in those two industries in particular, it's extremely important. So thinking about that and our duty to do our job safely and to ensure safe working conditions for other people is a great place to start. Thinking about the way we have scope and impact around the world. So our global scope, our ability to innovate and imagine things that have never been before. What would happen if people just stopped thinking of new ideas, 100 years ago? We'd all still be, clomping around in horse-drawn carriages, right? But luckily, we do have that very human impulse to improve, to think of better ways to do things and to get around. And look at this, now we're sending rockets to the moon and red convertibles to Mars. It's pretty awesome. And thinking about teamwork, again, this is something that maybe a lot of people don't recognize, that being in an engineering and technology profession, it's not just about sitting by yourself. A lot of the time, it's extremely interactive, and we're part of a collaborative team, and we're sharing ideas, and we're arguing back and forth with our colleagues about what the best way to go is with a certain design or a certain project. And that's very appealing to a lot of people. They don't have that sort of sitting by themselves, crunching numbers for 16 hours a day. So again, Concept Cloud, I mentioned the NEM Ontario messaging, so I'll just run through that really quickly for those who haven't heard of them before. I mentioned, we've got so many different challenges in the 21st century. We need lots of different people to come help solve them. So thinking about this, especially from a young person's perspective, they might not be confident in themselves. They might not think that they can belong or can contribute very much to engineering or technology. But when you say to them, there is a place for you, that makes them feel welcome. That makes them feel like potentially this is something they could consider. How engineering and technology shape the world around us yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Again, just thinking about how the arc of technology has shaped the way that society works, basically, the way that people make money, the way that they live, the way that they, connect with one another. There are just so many ways that has shifted from even, say, 20 or 30 years ago to today, and then maybe 20 and 30 years from now. That's a really cool conversation to have. And I've done that before with young people, to say, what do you think the next big invention is that's going to change everything? And they come up with great ideas. Applying creativity and imagination to turn ideas into reality, no matter what discipline of engineering or what industry you work in, what type of technology you work on. That's a pretty solid common thread through all of those different areas, that you're taking something that hasn't existed before and you're figuring out a way to turn it into a reality. And that's pretty cool, if you think about it that way. Essential to safety, health, happiness, and comfort. Again, this is looking at the impact. This is not so much what we do as engineers and technologists every day, but the why we do it and who we're helping. And again, this idea that we're people working for people, that we're not just about gadgets. We might love a good spreadsheet and we might be really analytical people who like to solve problems. But at the end of the day, what we do is for people, and we make a world of difference. So you can find some baseline themes and then combine them together to create your concept cloud. So you've got your diversity ideas here, societal impact, global scope. You can sort of pull all of those together and think about anything, let's say you find an article online, something on Twitter think about whether it fits into one of these boxes. Is this a key message that I want to amplify for my group? And you can put together those messages and know that they're in bounds and they're in line with the things that you're trying to convey. So social media, biggest thing is, although it's, it feels like the Wild West in some ways, like anything goes, really best practice for social media is that you are blasting your own content and saying what you think maybe less than a quarter of the time. The rest of the time, you're engaging with other people, you're asking questions, you're retweeting their content, you're sharing your ideas and your opinions on what they've posted. Because it really is, it's like a giant cocktail party. It's happening in cyberspace, which is sort of strange, but you want to use that same sort of etiquette of listening and understanding people and engaging in a civil and professional way. And then also sort of blasting out your own content and things that you want to say, as, sort of that 20%, I think is a good rule of thumb. And you've no doubt seen, maybe some kind of automated or semi-automated social media accounts where it's just blasting out their own content. And how much engagement do you think people get? And how excited do you think they get when someone is just going blah, blah, blah about themselves? Same thing at a cocktail party, right? Those are the most boring people, are the people who only talk about themselves, who never express any interest in other people or really interact in any meaningful way. So think about that as you're getting ready to put together your social media plan. Here are some ready-made icebreakers you can use if you're interested. Ask someone how they're going to celebrate NEM 2018. Remember that using the pound sign in front of something that turns it into what we call a hashtag, which is basically a label that people can then tune into. They can follow everything that's got that label on it. And that becomes sort of a centralized way to bring everyone who's using that hashtag together and help them all see each other and see each other's posts. What made you choose your given field, whether it's engineering or engineering technology? Important challenges. Who do you work with? Hey, what about our event here? Check out our event. You're invited. All those things are good. So thinking about what your audience cares about, you might want to look into the people who are already following engineering and technology news. Instagram as well has become tremendously popular. You can see a little bit of a snapshot here of what our Instagram feed looked like, the NEM Ontario Instagram feed looked like last year. Basically, it's photos. It's a little bit different than other social media platforms, and you use a lot of hashtags. Now, you can also take whatever you post on Instagram, and you can have it pop up on Facebook as well or on Twitter. That totally works. And using hashtags, they're, again, Instagram is really sort of the center of that. You can look at engineering, look at that 366,549 posts about engineering. So right away, you're delving into a channel that's very popular. Facebook, again, this is our Facebook from a few years ago, actually. This I Heart NEM, I think that was 2014 or 2015. But we have, a little bit of a snapshot of what that looks like. Find us, first of all, if you're not following us already, please do. You can follow as well Engineers Canada. They are the sort of the national association and the ultimate owners of National Engineering Month. They will, not unlike when you shop on Amazon and it tells you other things you might like based on your order. If you like Engineers Canada, you might like these other things as well. So that's a really good way to tap into existing content. Encourage you to look up our founding partners, PEO, OSET, OSPE, as well as the local chapters. Some chapters now even have a dedicated National Engineering Month account, and they post some really funny and good stuff. So check them out for sure. Engineers Without Borders Canada, as we mentioned, as well as their local chapters. There's some really great STEM organizations, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math Outreach, like Robotics Canada, Actua, Enspire, Science Expo. Maybe your local Ontario Science Centre, if you have one of those close to you. Other sorts of organizations like that. Women in Engineering, ONWE and WISE, a lot of their content is not just if you're female, it's of interest to everyone, and that's sort of the point. So any other organizations with a similar mission, and see who they're following. So a really key strategy for Facebook, and again, apologies if you know this already, but we want to make sure that you're covered if you're not, is to tag people. So don't just put up a post and leave it at that. You can add either to the comments or to the body of the post, if this is your post, someone's name. They'll pop up here, and that will send them a notification to check out this post as well. So that's a great thing to do. Twitter, that's really helpful as well. You can see Rose tweeted back in 2014. Look at this. We created these crests as part of their partnership with Girl Guides. They were really excited about that, and you can see that 2 people retweeted that and 2 people liked the tweet. So Twitter is a great one. It moves very quickly. There's a lot going on in Twitter. I've heard it said that, Facebook is sort of like a mall, like walking through a mall, and Twitter is the street. So there are, other levels of complexity on Twitter sometimes that you'll encounter, but it is a really powerful way to reach out to a lot of people, again, through the use of hashtags. So here's some handles of folks that you might want to follow and see who they follow. You can retweet by using this little, it looks almost like a recycle sign. If you want to share something that someone else has tweeted, that's a great way to do it. And you can search by hashtags, same as you can on Instagram, same as you can on Facebook. So use those hashtags, first of all. Again, NEM 2018, that's a great hashtag. We encourage you to use it on everything. Hashtag engineering or hashtag EngTech, outreach, culture. Maximum 2 to 3 hashtags per tweet on Twitter. Instagram is much more forgiving. You'll see folks put a whole cloud of hashtags there. It's just a little bit of a different strategy. So during your event, you can do something called live tweeting, which is almost like being there as maybe a bit of a color commentator, the way that they have at sporting events, so someone who describes kind of what's going on, not necessarily every single thing that's going, like a play-by-play, but someone who comments on what's happening, and they send many tweets to create sort of a commentary of what's going on. It can really bring people into the room. So for example, this was a conference that I was at. I believe it was the Engineers Without Borders National Conference in 2015. I tagged the people that were on the panel and then just repeated some of the things that they said. And it takes a little bit of skill sometimes to keep up with what people are saying. But if you pick and choose your moments, you can really kind of expand the moment to bring anyone who's online basically into the room by helping them understand what was said. Again, we're going to talk about this more in a separate webinar about the effectiveness of your events, but we do ask all of our NEM event organizers to use these surveys to validate that your event has had the impact that you wanted it to. And not only is that great for you to understand your event impact, it also gives you great stuff to tweet. So you can take a photo, you can see this person, I believe this was one of the Girl Guide workshops, said, "I thought engineering wasn't fun, but now I know it's fun." Hey, pretty hard to argue with that. That's an awesome quote. That's a really good outcome for that young person. They're going to take that forward into their lives and into their memories. And anytime something with the word engineering comes up in the future, they're going to have that positive association. That's exactly what we want. So a few other ideas on some great hashtags that you can check out. Hashtags are not case sensitive, even though you're welcome, obviously, to put capitals there if you feel that that's how you want to do it. It actually doesn't matter. You can capitalize or not, and it doesn't make a difference. So we've thrown an awful lot of information at you. If you are a social media pro or a traditional media pro, then this probably has just been a refresher for you, some reminders of some things. If you're a newbie, that's okay too. Want to thank you for caring enough to watch this webinar and to be present and to try to inform your skills. We hope that this will be useful to you, not just with National Engineering Month, but with anything else you might be accomplishing in the sort of outreach or community engagement space. These skills are highly transferable to other things. If you're not sure where to start and it feels like we've just given you a lot, don't worry, just focus on using the tools that you have really well. Better to take, for example, Facebook and use it consistently and use it confidently and well than to try to do a little bit on every platform and end up really splitting your focus, or just Twitter or just Instagram. That is totally fine. So brainstorm the goals with your team. Mix up what you're doing, bring in the experts anytime you can. If you've got a younger person on your team that maybe tweets in their spare time, they already know how to do this. Give them that task. Let them take that forward and take on that responsibility for you, as well as leveraging some of the folks that might be familiar with the more, say, traditional or old-fashioned media techniques, such as calling up your local paper or putting together a press release, that kind of thing. We encourage you to use all those tools that you have available. So again, we're looking forward to seeing you online. Thank you for watching this webinar. If you haven't found us already, we are NEM Ontario. You can find us on all 3 social media platforms there. Hashtag NEM 2018, that's the place to be. So go check it out regularly, share the content you see, and put stuff up there yourself, and we'll share it for you. You can find us online. This is our website, and a few other hashtags here as we move forward and kick off this amazing celebration of National Engineering Month in 2018. Thanks so much for being with us.